Tristan Andrew, back again on our discussion of Richard Wagner's Ring. We now come to the third opera, Siegfried. You may be wondering why I make a connection to Halloween. Let me show you. In part 1, we looked at how we included in our Halloween playlist music written for many other purposes. We also explained the importance of and controversies surrounding Richard Wagner, the composer of The Ring of the Nibelung, which we have appropriated for Halloween. Wagner had become a proponent of exclusionist German nationalism and freely edited these mythological sources to write the librettos for his Ring cycle in the interest of elevating and edifying his audiences as to the need to purify German culture. Just to recap, The Ring is a cycle of 4 German-language epic Musikdramas. The works are based loosely on characters from Germanic heroic legend, notably the Old Norse poetic Eddas and Volsunga Saga, and the Middle High German Nibelungenlied. The 4 parts that constitute the Ring are in sequence: Das Rheingold, Die Walküre, Siegfried, and Götterdämmerung. We covered the first 2 in another presentation. Here we'll look at the third part of the cycle, in which our hero, Siegfried, attains great deeds and learns of his perfect counterpart. In Siegfried, we have some contradictions that indicate Wagner's shifting ideas as he composed The Ring. The earlier operas set up a corrupted world engulfed in conflict between the gods that wreaks havoc on everything. The only solution is the creation of a hero outside the bonds of the gods, a mortal with divine heritage, who will have an important, if not ultimate, role in reordering a new world. All of this emerges from Wagner's somewhat confused blend of anti-Semitism, heroic sacrifice, redemption, and a belief in the superiority of Germanic culture. In Siegfried, we see this hero finally emerge. Having lost his mother Sieglinde in childbirth, and being looked after since childhood by the dwarf Mime, a young Siegfried forges a new weapon from the shards of the sword Nothung of his father Siegmund. After some intellectual hijinks between Mime and Wotan in earthly disguise as the Wanderer, Siegfried is taken to slay the giant Fafnir in dragon form, thanks to the Tarnhelm, and seize the hoard of gold that includes the ring and the Tarnhelm. Mime plans to poison Siegfried and grab the hoard himself, but when Siegfried finds out, he strikes him down. Siegfried, in turn, learns of Brunhilde, condemned to endless sleep and surrounded by fire. Siegfried sets out to free her from the flames. Act 1 is dominated by the exciting rhythms of hammer bellows and blazing forge as Siegfried reforges his father's sword. The great forest in Act 2 mingles the haunted gloom of Carl Maria von Weber's Der Freischütz with the sunlight and bird calls of Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, the Pastoral. And in Act 3, Siegfried makes an epic passage through storm and fire on the mountainside to Brunhilde's idyllic pastures. Unlike other portions of The Ring, Siegfried does not leave us with any outstanding musical segments beyond the forest murmurs. This is one of these special smaller pieces which had, in spite of its size, unforgettable impact. It appears in Act 2. At this time, Siegfried has entered an enchanted forest and awakened a furious dragon, none other than Fafnir in disguise, and he successfully stabs him directly into the heart. In his libretto, Wagner wrote that while Siegfried is resting in the forest under a linden tree, he leans back and looks up through the tree branches and becomes enchanted by the forest murmurs and listens with great interest to the song of a bird in the branches above him. After licking the dragon's blood off his hands, Siegfried is magically able to understand the language of the forest bird, which gives him two messages. The first is to beware of the dwarf Mima, who has raised him after his mother, Sieglinde, died in childbirth. The second is that the beautiful Valkyrie, Brunhilde, can be awakened by the kiss of a person who knows no fear, in other words, Siegfried. And this woman can be his bride. The bird affirms Siegfried is now free from the evil dwarf. Now he must awake his glorious bride. I sing of love, joyful in woe. I weave my song, and lovers can tell what it means. Siegfried immediately rises to kill Mima, in the process breaking Wotan's spear. He throws Mima's body into a cave and sets off via the bird's instructions to find Brunhilde. Forest Murmurs presents an impressionistic setting long before Impressionism became a musical term. The music begins softly in the strings, representing leaves and branches gently swaying above the forest floor. Gradually, the bird speaks, flute and glockenspiel in the opera score, in episodic expressions, amid the calm undercurrent of sustained strings. As Siegfried becomes inspired by the messages, the music becomes enlarged and animated, leading to a brilliant and optimistic conclusion. In the Musikdrama, Siegfried speaks, "Fluttering overhead, you guide me, and when you flutter, there I shall go." The curtain drops and Siegfried races after the bird's flight. In Siegfried, we watch a young man come into his own in a way that is both satisfying and yet still accessible. It is full of fairy tale aspects that end with the hero's reward of a promised love as courageous and worthy as he himself. And yet, the early portions of the cycle indicate that this is just a part of a tale of ultimate destruction upon which ruins will be built, a new society free of the evil of greed and lust. This belief that the world, as in German culture, would require a climactic cleansing before it could achieve greatness, finds expression in the final part of the cycle, Götterdämmerung, which will be covered in part 3. See you next time when we conclude the ring with the final opera in the cycle, Götterdämmerung. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment, subscribe, and keep listening.